Good evening, I'm Faye and this is Just the News. It's our experiment to give you 10 minutes of news. There's no opinion, there's no fuss, there's no comment on this news. Just the news as it happened. It's old school style. Now, addressing some of the feedback we got yesterday, there was someone who recommended that I speak a little faster, and another person who said that it's getting a little boring in the middle, it's not entertaining enough. Well, I speak deliberately slowly in order for the audience to be able to understand all of the information so that nothing is missed. And as far as news being entertaining is concerned, it's not really meant to be. The idea with news is that it is serious, and really making news entertaining is the slippery slope that television news started on, and we all know where it is right now. So no, I am not going to make it entertaining. What we have attempted to do, though, to address some of the other feedback that we got, we've improved the readability of our captions on the screen, and we would like to hear more about what you think of tonight's bulletin. So let's get started. It's the 23rd of February, and here's your news for today. To begin with, Disha Ravi has been granted bail. A Delhi Sessions Court granted bail to the 22-year-old climate activist Disha Ravi in the toolkit case, and it termed the evidence presented by the police as scanty and sketchy. The Delhi police alleged that Disha Ravi was a key conspirator in formulation and dissemination of a document, which they call the toolkit, and that she collaborated with pro-Khalistani group Poetic Justice Foundation to spread disaffection against the Indian state. And she also shared that document with Greta Thunberg. Now, here are some of the extracts from that bail order. To begin with, this is what the court has said. And I begin the quote: "There is not even an iota of evidence brought to my notice that there is a connection with the perpetrators of the violence of 26 January and the said PFJ or the accused," which is Disha. "There's absolutely no link to establish on record between the accused and the banned organization Seeks for Justice. Citizens are the conscience keepers of the government in any democratic nation. They cannot be put behind bars simply because they choose to disagree with state policies. Freedom of speech and expression includes the right to seek a global audience. There is no geographical border to communication. And creation of a WhatsApp group or being the editor of an innocuous toolkit is not an offense." End quote. Moving on. After Patanjali claimed that its medicine, Coronil, is the first evidence-based medicine of COVID-19, in the presence of Health Minister Harsh Vardhan, the Indian Medical Association, or the IMA, has questioned how the Health Minister could promote such a falsely fabricated, unscientific product before the country. On Friday, Mr. Ramdev of Patanjali, in the presence of Mr. Harsh Vardhan and another Union Minister, Nitin Gadkari, had actually launched this product again. On a big poster behind the three of them were claims that the medicine holds the certificate of a pharmaceutical product, COPP, and is recognized by the World Health Organization's Good Manufacturing Practices, or the GMP. Both these standards approximately define quality assurances for medical products. The WHO, however, clarified after that in a tweet that it had not reviewed or certified any traditional medicine to treat or prevent COVID-19. And this is what it said, quoting, "The WHO has not reviewed or certified the effectiveness of any traditional medicine for the treatment of COVID-19. This is what the WHO Southeast Asia tweeted. News from the south of India right now. Thousands of teachers and staff members of various private school organizations in Karnataka held a massive protest against the government's order to cut school fees by 30% this year. The state government order was issued keeping in mind the financial hardships being faced by parents. School management say with the steep fee cut, they will not be able to continue paying their staff. An order by the government on the 30th of January had restricted schools from collecting beyond 70% of their tuition fees this year. It also barred schools from collecting any other fees like development fees or library fees, among others. What you're looking at on your screen right now are visuals of that protest in Karnataka from today. Also in Karnataka, 6 people died after a gelatin stick exploded in Karnataka's Chikbalapur district. According to initial reports, the explosion occurred when one of the deceased was carrying the gelatin sticks that were used to blast rocks or to conceal them in the forest nearby. All 6 were killed on the spot. Among the deceased, 3 reportedly from Andhra Pradesh, 1 from Nepal, and 1 from a nearby village. The condition of one who is injured is very critical. 2 people have been held in connection to the incident, and a case has been registered with the police station. The forensic science team is on the spot. Moving on now to business news. Reliance Capital has defaulted for the 49th time on its non-convertible debenture payments. Reliance Capital has failed to make interest payment on non-convertible debentures due on the 21st of February, making this the 49th default in a row. The company has disclosed during its December quarter that it has listed NCDs worth 14,827 crore rupees. It has also, apparently according to the Financial Express, missed its installments to HDFC and Axis Bank from the 31st of January 2020 to the 30th of January 2021. Reliance Capital has cautioned investors that there would be a delay in their debt servicing right now. Also, interestingly, China has now regained its position as India's top trade partner in 2020 despite the border tensions and India's ban on many Chinese apps. Now, as per government data, two-way trade between the countries stood at $77.7 billion in 2020. Now, the figure is a lot lower than the $85.5 billion recorded in 2019, but it's enough to make China India's largest commercial partner, displacing the US, which was the largest commercial partner until now. In international news now, Facebook has restored the news pages in Australia. Facebook says it's reached an agreement with the Australian government to restore news pages in the country. A company official said restrictions on news sharing on Facebook's Australian platform should be lifted in the coming days. Last week, the tech giant had blocked all news pages in Australia in opposition to a law that was being planned by the country that would require tech companies like Facebook to pay local publishers and news agencies for news content that's shared on its platform. And in other news, the Canadian Parliament has declared China's treatment of its Uyghur minority as genocide. Canada's House of Commons voted 266-0 to declare China's treatment of the Uyghur minority as genocide, making it the second country after the US to do so. Interestingly, while all opposition parties supported the motion, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and most of his cabinet members abstained. Lawmakers also voted to pass an amendment seeking to move the 2022 Winter Olympics out of Beijing if the Chinese government continues this genocide. Air New Zealand is going to trial vaccine passports on flights to Australia. Air New Zealand is trying out vaccine passports requiring passengers travelling to Australia to confirm that they've received the COVID-19 vaccines using digital health passes. Now, International Air Transport Association's Travel Pass app will be used for this on the Auckland-Sydney flights for 3 weeks in April. Now, this matters to us really because it may be a glimpse into the post-pandemic behavior that we can expect on international travel, with several airlines now planning to mandate digital vaccine passes like this one in the future. And some disappointing news that I know disappointed one of my colleagues, Amita. Daft Punk has decided to announce a split after 28 years. The French duo and Grammy-winning electronic music pioneers Daft Punk have announced their split after 28 years. Their publicist has confirmed the news without delving much into the details on the reason for that split. Now you'll have to bear with me when I pronounce these names. The duo, Thomas Bongalte and his colleague Guy-Manuel Domem Cristo, were popular for their, among other things, their music and their iconic robot helmets. Their single Get Lucky, featuring Pharrell Williams and Nile Rodgers, was their biggest hit of all. Moving on now to sports news. The third test between India and England will take place tomorrow. India will take on England in its third test in the 4-match test series on Wednesday at the Motera Stadium in Ahmedabad. The match will begin at about 2:30 for those of you who are working from home. Till now, both teams have won a match each. England won the first, India the second. The refurbished Motera Stadium is now the biggest cricket stadium in the world and will host both the third and the fourth test matches. And finally, Sri Lanka opener Upul Taranga has retired from international cricket at the age of 36. He's announced his retirement on all forms of international cricket. He'd made his international debut in 2005 against West Indies. He's played a total of 235 ODIs, 31 tests and 26 T20 matches. Taranga also led Sri Lanka in 22 ODIs and 6 T20s, winning 4 and 3 respectively. All right, that's a wrap from me and the news on my team as well. Do send us your feedback. Let us know if you find this useful. We're going to try and make better time starting tomorrow and get this to you between 9 and 9:30. But for now, thanks for watching. Good night.